Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, for anybody who is new here or who is just joining us, who's not familiar, this is the Protect Our Queens podcast. If you don't get down with women's basketball, this is not the place for you. And our special guest tonight, we already know gets down with the women's game. I've had the pleasure to chop it up with Chris over on his podcast, on the 3on3 podcast. Um, Chris is doing some just does awesome work. I really enjoy his tweets and how he claps back at people with no regard and no remorse. And for the most part, from what I can tell, he's usually defending not just women's basketball, but women. Chris is out here on the front lines, man. But he's a great brother, does great work, and we're happy to have him here on the Protect Our Queens podcast. Chris, what's going on, bro?
What's up, baby? It's always a pleasure when I get to talk women's basketball, and then I get to do it with two very insightful and dynamic brothers, and Martin and Marcus. So yeah, I'm living the dream right now, man. I love the work that y'all do. I'm glad, honored that y'all wanted to have me on. So I can't wait to get into it, man.
It's love, man. We're looking forward to chopping it up with you about a few things. A quick housekeeping item, fellas. I did want to make it known what's going on here because you already
Oh
know.
yeah,
You know
well, you share.
what we're
That's
doing right
right.
now.
Come on, man.
Share.
Let them know.
Now. There's a lot of
Let
accolades.
them know.
There's
A lot. That's a
Come on
damn
now.
CBS receipt for accolade, dog. Come
Absolutely.
on, bro.
Real quick, speaking of CVS receipts for accolades, so I've been doing this. I've been doing this a post a day, like did you know, for like basketball icons because it's international, it's Women's History Month. And man, on Monday I picked Maya Moore. You talk about a CVS receipt of accolades, bro.
No,
I need all 10 slides. I needed all 10 slides of the carousel. Maya Moore. And actually, as a matter of fact, when I finished, I didn't know I had 12. I had to cut 2 slides. There was just so many.
damn.
Jeez, bro. I texted Martin. I was like, hey, man, I just finished doing this. Because last week we were talking about, or a couple weeks ago, we were talking about who the greatest women's basketball player of all time in college was. And I said, well, I'm not that, like, I didn't grow up watching Maya Moore. I grew up watching Breonna Stewart. Like, Stewie's my goat. Because I was, like, when I first got into college basketball, it was women and it was Stewie winning championships every year. I sat there and I was writing Maya Moore's. I was like, oh, yeah. There's a reason Sports Illustrated said she's the greatest winner in women's basketball history. That's a lot. She didn't lose 100 games
in her whole
the time she retired, bro. That's crazy. That's
OD.
that career
Four
record.
chips
Foolish.
in the WNBA.
That's crazy, bro. What was she like 536 and 95 or something? That's
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, something around there.
unheard of, bro. That's
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
It's a team sport, but it reminds me of like Serena Williams. I think she had like an 80% winning percentage or something like that in the course of her career. Of course, she played longer than Maya did, but still, it's like that level of dominance was sustained over a long period of time. So, yeah, I'm hurt that we didn't get to see her continue to play. I'm glad that she is walking and living in her purpose, but for us, yeah, we're a little bit hurt.
Yeah, yo, and it was pretty profound to see her at that Iowa game, not just because of like the Caitlin Clark, like, link up and all that. That was cool, but I felt it was pretty remarkable because I didn't even know if Maya was watching hoop anymore. I don't think we knew if Maya even liked basketball. I think we were all just glad to see Maya in the gym around
Now,
basketball.
for real,
again.
bro. She barely steps out that crib, at least to the public eye. If it's not, for her book, with her husband and all that, or coming out to see her her fellow team or former teammate Sylvia Fowles get her jersey retired, all that. Then yeah, we don't see her, but she pulled out. So clearly, Caitlin moves the needle. That's for sure.
Man, that was crazy.
Clark is a needle mover, that's for sure.
That was huge. I was surprised. I mean, she was.
But it's not
Caitlin
even.
was bugging
Hold
out.
it. It's not even the fact that she came out for the game to see. It's the fact that she went all the way out to Iowa. It could be a neutral site, right? No, she went out to Iowa. I'm sure they paid for her travel, all that, but still.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Man, that was it was literally just great to see. Chris, we do want to talk a little Caitlin, a little college. We got a few things to get to here. And we just played the clip from Dan Orlovsky on First Take, which is funny too, because it's like the college game. There's so many people. Like Stephen A brings up Juju, and then Dan is like, yeah, Paige had 30 last. You know, you're bringing up Caitlin. It's like, yeah, we all know Caitlin. And Stephen A's like, I got to see Juju, and then Dan's like, yo, but Paige had 30 last night. It's like, yeah, keep going because it's a lot. It's a lot from freshmen to seniors to transfers to undefeated teams. I mean, there's a lot happening in the college game, and there's a lot to enjoy, as we know. I do want to come back a little bit, Chris, because we kind of started. Marcus talked about kind of his GOAT and women's players that he kind of grew up watching and started out watching that kind of put him onto the women's game. Who was it for you? I'm curious. Like, what are the origins of your fandom in women's basketball? Because you seem to have some pretty strong roots or connections. Something happened with you. So what really put you on to women's basketball, bro?
Honestly, bro, when you sent me the rundown of what we're going to talk about, and I saw that question, I said to myself, there really wasn't a particular moment that I said, yo, I'm attracted to women's basketball. It was kind of just a natural interest. Like, I just loved hoops. So it really started, I feel like, 1990, what was it, 1996 or 1990? It was whenever the Houston Comets started dominating, right, in the WNBA. So in the late 90s. And they just kept winning and winning. So, Cheryl Swoops, Tina Thompson, Cynthia Cooper, you had Teresa Weatherspoon, on the Liberty, Rebecca Lobo, so many great players. Shamika Holtzclaw as well. Shout out Tennessee. So there wasn't a particular moment. I just was attracted to like entertaining basketball and those players, those teams. And then, of course, the rivalry between UConn and Tennessee with Gino, Pat Summitt. Those storylines jumped out to me. And I saw the product. I'm like, yeah, I'm all the way down for this. So it didn't even register as, I need to be watching women's sports or women's basketball. Just, I like hoops. I'm a pure hooper, even though I couldn't play it. So if somebody's got the handle, somebody's got the pizzazz, I'm watching it. Don't matter if they male or female.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like Chris is a rare that I feel like that's a rare case of people who, I mean, there's a good amount of you out here, but I feel like it's rare, because you just watch basketball. It's like there's not really anything that puts you on. Marcus is kind of a newbie, but he's a sports guy, so he could always see that it was. But in the last couple years, like Marcus would start hitting me like, "Yo, like I've seen the light. Like this is looking crazy out here."
Yeah, bro. Exactly.
Bro, I started off. So I got into women's basketball because I would do bracket challenges with my friends. And the men's one was just like too simple. And so we would do the women's one just for fun because we weren't really like tapped in for it. So we were just kind of like just doing it based off like whatever. I was like, no, like if I'm going to win this, like I want to watch the game, see what's going on. So I grew up for the most part, I was watching Stewie. And then one day, like I watched a South Carolina game and I just fell in love with Asia Wilson. And so Asia Wilson converted me to a Gamecocks fan. And so I've been a South Carolina fan ever since. And so naturally, when Asia Wilson gets drafted, I started watching more WNBA basketball. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, there's some pretty good hoops happening over here. You got some good stuff happening over here. And I love it, bro. Like I love it all the time. I sit here and I remember I texted Martin like either early last year or late 2022, and I was like, Martin, I don't know what I've been doing all my life, but like I've been missing out on women's basketball. Like there's a lot of good stuff happening over here, bro. Right. So, yeah, that's kind of how it started for me. It all started because of Stewie, and then it was really Asia Wilson, and now it's great, bro. I love it. I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah, and Chris, like you don't hold back when you see some nonsense out here,
right?
Disrespecting the women's game. Since you've been watching the game and obviously you cover it, what has been your experience? Kind of like, have you seen kind of more like backlash? Obviously, social media plays into it, and you just got a sea of people out there ready to just say whatever, and you got to deal with that. But obviously the women's game is booming right now, like we said, and things are growing at a crazy pace, and it's great energy right now. But what's kind of been your, I guess, just what's been your experience kind of watching the product evolve? Like, what are some of the things that have kind of stood out to you as far as like fans, the audience, the energy? Like, what kind of stands out to you?
What stands out to me is the passion that you have from a lot of these fan bases. There's not one fan base that I think, or maybe some, but most of the fan bases are ridiculously committed. And some levels, it gets to a cult level type of following or interest for the powerhouses. So that can be a little crazy at times for the overzealous fans. It's been great to see, these companies, networks buy in more to these amazing ladies and what they're doing and highlighting their stories. Of course, it still needs to be spread around more evenly. So it's not just Caitlin Clark, but you have Juju Watkins, you have Hannah Hidalgo, you know what I'm saying? You have Ashton Watkins on South Carolina, Raven Johnson, so many names, Madison Scott, Ole Miss. I could go down the list, Liz Kitley, Georgia Amore. So it's been wonderful to see them really dig deep into propping up these women. Still got a long ways to go. And there, of course, are going to be detractors, people that are going to hate on the game, but they're idiots. And it has to do with their insecurities and their issues about how they see the world and particularly how they see women. Because I tell people all the time, how do you not watch? If you don't watch women's basketball, then you're not a real fan of basketball, because it's hoops at its purest form, because they don't, or they can't, they're not able to rely on their athleticism as much as the men. So you have to be that much more fundamentally sound as opposed to a men's player. And it shows up in the product, the cutting, the angles, the basketball IQ. And of course, there are games where they're duds and it's hard to watch, just like in the men. But overall, bro, give it to me all. Because let me tell you, when Sylvia Fowles was at LSU, Candace Parker was at Tennessee, those freaking battles, that gave me so much life. When Maya Moore was dominating the scene, when Syracuse gave a challenge to UConn one year, Rutgers with I'm blanking her name, she'll forget. C. Vivian Stringer and everything that she did for college basketball, not just at Rutgers, but beginning at her first coaching stop. Like, it's been wonderful to see how the game has progressed, to say the least.
This made me smile, bro. We sit here and we have these conversations all the time about how, like, Martin and I were even talking this morning. Like, I think a lot of times, especially people who aren't tapped into the game, people who don't watch the game, are very quick to say women's basketball, men's basketball. But like, if you notice, a lot of the avid supporters of the game, they don't put that descriptor there. They're like, there's a really good basketball game on. Like, oh, yeah. I was on, funny story. I was talking to my friends on Saturday, because Saturday was a big day for college basketball. It was the same last day of the regular season. I was like, there's a lot of basketball on the day. And they're like, no, there's not. Like, well, I mean, come on, college. I'm talking women's college basketball. It's like, oh, well, then say that. Like, no, like, it's basketball, bro. Like, there's a lot of basketball on today. I got like 24 teams playing basketball tonight. Like, that's a difficult thing, I think, for a lot of people who don't support the game, people who don't like the game, to wrap their mind around, because they're so used to just assuming that it's not good ball, that like there is a legit argument in some areas of the game that women's basketball, and I know we'll talk about it a bit later, specifically in the college realm, is better than men's college basketball for all the reasons you just mentioned. And when you talk about it being fundamentally sound, for a guy like Martin, who I know is a basketball purist, like, that's more exciting for some people than watching, fast break dunks and alley-oops. Not that fast break dunks and alley-oops aren't exciting, but you don't get a lot of that throughout the course of a game on a day-to-day basis. And so, like, for me, like, my big thing is, to all the people who are saying lowering the rims, like, there's not that many dunks that happen in a basketball game for you to want to tap in if they lower the rim. Like, it's just not. It's really not. Like, you're not seeing that many dunks on a game-to-game basis, night-to-night basis, for lowering the rim to get you to tap in. Like, that's just not the case. I love women's basketball. It's fundamentally sound, and it's exciting. It's exciting for me anyway, and that's all that really matters.
So, Chris, who would be your women's basketball Mount Rushmore? Just overall women's basketball. I know you're. Are you born and raised in New York, Chris?
Nah, I saw that, so I came up with some, and I got some, but no, I'm not born and raised in New York. I'm from DC. Yeah, DC.
You're from DC. Okay, right.
Yeah.
From DC?
Yeah, born and raised DMV. Come on.
That's right.
I'm from DC. Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, okay. Wait, are you actually from DC? Are you from like Bethesda?
No. Hey, bro. I knew you was gonna say that. No, I'm actually from DC. Born and raised in DC. I went to elementary school in DC. I went to middle school in DC. Went to high school in DC. I went to UDC for college for 2 years. I'm from DC. I swear
all right.
I'm from DC.
My man. So you're not an
DC ain't always
imposter like
DC.
Yeah, no, you ask somebody from DC, they say, "Oh yeah, I'm from Woodbridge." Woodbridge is not DC. That's not.
Yeah, from Alexandria. No, okay.
I'm from Silver Spring.
Silver Spring. No, that's not it either. Oh man, but yeah, bro. So Mount Rushmore, that's tough. So for New York City, I would go Tina Charles, Christ the King, Sue Bird as well, Shamika Holtzclaw, Christ the King as well. Now Stewie went to high school in New York, but she's in Syracuse, right? So that don't count for New York City. Don't count. I'm sorry. And then the next person that I have to put on there probably would have to be maybe Epiphany Prince. You know what I'm saying? With
I thought you might do it.
Yeah. She's cold-blooded. She had a great WNBA career. I think now she's playing overseas. So that would be my 4 because I can't put Stewie's not from New York City, so yeah, she doesn't qualify.
I think that's fair. Dwayne Marcus, do you know your history? Do you know the number, the big number associated with one Epiphany Prince? The amount of points she scored in a high school game. Anything ring a bell? Anything?
No.
All right. Okay. Take a guess. Take a guess. Take a guess.
100?
You close.
Keep going. 120?
A little bit under. You're right there.
Eric, yeah, you really hot.
113, my friend. 113
points in a high school game?
Yeah.
There's footage of that?
If I'm not mistaken, there's footage.
If there's footage, I'll believe you. I don't think Wilt scored 100 because nobody can give me footage of that.
Bro,
no, this is New York City, bro. If you go to New York, they'll we're there. We'll tell you.
I got you. There's footage. I got you. Okay.
Yeah. Oh my God. 113 points. Yeah.
Doesn't Cheryl Miller have a story of like how like she came home one day and Reggie Miller was talking about how he had like a really good game? And she's like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." And she said I scored like 73 or something like that. Like, no, God.
Yeah,
113.
Yeah, I think that was the record. Yeah, she broke. Yeah, 50 broke. Yeah, Cheryl's record there. 2006, man. It's 5'9". You know, so no.
Piff was one of the calmest all-out buckets I ever saw, bro. It was like she literally. Probably her biggest critique that I remember that people would say like people would call her lazy just because it looked like she wasn't trying out there. Like her game was just kind of naturally like slower, smooth, calm, but like dog, she would be getting 30, like she would be frying you, but it just looked like she wasn't trying. So she would literally bro, shout out to Piff, man. I got a Piff story that would be hilarious to tell, but that's my girl, man. Man, I just remember watching her at Rutgers, dude. They would literally, it was literally a critique, but it was just her game, and you couldn't stop her.
No, you really had no shot. And in that game, I was just looking up. She made 54 out of 60 shots. Like that's just, I don't care what league.
54 out of 60.
Yeah, that's what it said. 54 out of 60 shots. Who does that?
Oh, she was wilding. I remember seeing video like not long after it happened, and I remember seeing a lot of jumpers. It was a lot of jumpers, bro. It was.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, because in the previous record, Cheryl with 105. My goodness, Lisa Leslie at 101.
Oh, like, and see, look at what we're talking about, guys. This was decades ago. Girls out here dropping over 100 points in a game. I mean, the Cheryl Miller story, that's well known. That's like that's a legendary story, right? So it's just interesting. Like, even my brother said to me this week, we were talking about like Angel and Caitlin and just like how lit women's college game is, and he was like, "Yo, hasn't the women's game always been lit? Like, we went to the Final Four in 2001. We were watching Candace Parker and see." He was like, "Bro, hasn't it always been lit?" I'm like, "Well, yeah. Like, you've been around. You remember, like, the talent has always been there. It's just we're seeing like the surge really start to happen right now."
Yes,
for sure.
Exactly. The casual fan is becoming more invested with the game. And then they're getting more visibility because these companies are actually using their brain smartly and not leaning into misogyny and sexism, even though there's still issues there. But it's getting better slowly but surely. That's why I saw Steven Jackson said what he said the other day, like, the players are getting more talented. No, that's not. I mean, they are, but that's not the reason why you see so much excitement, because a lot of people just catching up. Yeah. The train been rolling. You just caught up to it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what it is.